ever feel like you're just totally buried? Like drowning in articles, reports, spreadsheets?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the more information we have, the harder it is to actually make sense of it all.
Yeah, and it's especially tricky for our listeners who are diving deep into sustainable investing, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got your own notes, plus we've got all these excerpts from DigitalDarwin we want to get to.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that training manual is so good.
It's a good one. It's really interesting.
So today, we are going to try to equip everyone listening with the tools to, like, conquer this data jungle and hopefully unearth some of those investment gems, you know?
Directly, yeah. And just like you wouldn't go digging for gold with, just any old tools.
Right.
You want to have the right tools and know what you're looking for. So we're going to figure out the right tools for the data today.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Speaking of tools, DigitalDarwin had this whole thing about what they call the data hierarchy. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important concept because, we use the term data all the time, but it's not all the same. It's like a pyramid where at the bottom you've got, like the raw data, just like the raw materials, if we're sticking with your analogy.
Yeah, okay.
But as you move up, you refine it, and then that data becomes information.
So if, like, let's say we're looking at a company's sustainability report and we see a number for their carbon emissions, that would be like the raw data.
Right.
But then if we compare that to like the industry average, or we see how it's changed over time, that then becomes information.
Exactly. Yeah. And then as you analyze that information and you start to see patterns and you start to draw some conclusions, that's when you move from information to knowledge.
Okay.
So like with the carbon emissions, understanding, is this company actually trying to reduce their emissions or are they just greenwashing?
Right.
That's where the knowledge comes in.
And the knowledge is what leads to those insights that you can actually use to make decisions.
Exactly.
Like, should we invest in this company? Should we not invest in this company?
Exactly.
But, one thing DigitalDarwin really emphasizes is that it's not like this automatic thing. It takes effort.
It does.
To get from that raw data up to like that actionable insight.
Like refining the gold from the ore.
Yes. That's why they have this whole other concept of what they call de-dagging the data.
I love that. I love it too, because it's kind of like if you have, a bunch of ingredients in your pantry and you're going to bake a cake. Yeah. You want to like check the expiration dates and make sure nothing's gone bad. For sure. That's de-dagging, basically. You got to make sure your data is like fresh. It's reliable. Exactly. They had this good breakdown, I thought, in the book where they're like, is your data complete? Is it accurate?
Is it timely?
Timely. Oh, is it redundant? Like, do we have this somewhere else?
Are there duplicates?
Yeah, because I don't know. I've definitely used the wrong spreadsheet before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sent it to the right people. Like, we've all been there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something like sustainable investing, where we're talking about, aligning your money with your values, right? It's important stuff.
It's like you can't afford to use bad data.
For sure. Yeah, data is crucial there.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers, but about making sure you're making responsible choices too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where this idea of the data hierarchy and de-dagging is super important.
Totally. So when we're actually looking at companies, for sustainable investing, how can we make sure that data is actually de-dagged?
Yeah.
Especially, I know, in your notes, you were really focused on making sure you had reliable data about things like carbon emissions,
right,
deforestation. These are big.
Absolutely. And you can think about, you're looking at a company's sustainability report and they say, oh, we've reduced our deforestation impact.
Right.
But that data is 3 years old and they've actually increased it since then.
Yikes.
That's aged data, and that can really trip you up.
So how do we make sure we don't fall into that trap? That's a perfect example of why this is so important.
Right.
Because we don't want to invest in a company that's greenwashing us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so DigitalDarwin, they have a good kind of framework for thinking about this. They call it the data checklist.
Okay.
And this works whether you're looking at a sustainability report or honestly any kind of data.
Yeah, that makes
So it's like your toolkit. So the first thing is the data verifiable?
Okay.
Can you go back to the source and confirm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Then you look at consistency. So are they using the same kind of metrics over time?
Right.
Or are they changing the definition to make their numbers look better? Or
Yeah. No, that makes sense because consistency builds trust, right?
Exactly.
And what else are we looking for?
Timeliness, of course, which we were just talking about.
Right.
Make sure the information is recent, it's current.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is comprehensiveness. So, is it telling the whole story?
Okay.
If a company says, oh, we're sustainable, and they only talk about their carbon emissions, but they don't talk about, like, their water usage or how they treat their workers or anything.
Right. You got to look at the whole picture.
Exactly.
Not just the, like, cherry-picking data.
Right. Exactly. And I think this is where things get really interesting because DigitalDarwin talks about this thing called ISO standards, and they also mention the DMBOK framework.
Okay. I'm not going to lie, those sound a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, what are those? Why should we care about them? Okay, so, like, don't worry, we're not going to go full-on technical here.
Right.
But ISO standards, DMBOK framework, it does sound like we're, like, I don't know, building a skyscraper now instead of just, like, baking that cake.
Well, I mean, in a way, but really these are more like guidelines, like they're the blueprint.
Oh, right.
So you're not, building the whole thing from scratch.
Okay.
But so ISO standards are these internationally recognized, like, best practices.
Gotcha.
And it covers all kinds of different things.
Huh?
Data management being one of them. Yeah.
So it's like kind of a stamp of approval then.
Exactly. Like, yeah, this data is good. You can trust it.
Yeah.
And I think, especially for sustainable investing,
Yeah.
because you're comparing these two companies, they're both like, we're the best. We're the greenest.
Right. Everyone's green these days, right?
Right. So how do you, like, cut through all the noise?
Yeah.
And that's where this is useful.
Gotcha.
Because they have a framework for their data.
So, like, how they manage their environmental impact.
Yeah, how they collect their data, all of it.
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
Because then you can be like, okay, are you actually doing good stuff or are you just,
You just greenwashing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about DMBOK? Is that kind of the same idea?
It's related, but it's a little bit broader. So that stands for Data Management Body of Knowledge, which is a mouthful.
Yeah.
But basically it's like, how do you manage data well?
Okay.
In, like, an entire organization. So it's a lot.
Okay.
It gets into data governance and data quality and all of that.
So ISO is like for specific things, and then this is like the whole shebang.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the thing that's interesting, even if, like, you're not a data scientist, obviously,
Most of us are.
knowing about this stuff is actually really helpful.
Yeah.
So you kind of know, like, what questions should I be asking?
Right. What should I look for?
Yeah. What are the red flags? Especially, in something like this, it changes so fast.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this whole sustainable investing world is like moving target. Yeah, totally. Okay, so it's kind of like I might not know how to build the skyscraper.
Yeah.
But I can at least, like, see if the foundation's messed up, maybe not invest.
Exactly. And I think that's what's been, good about this conversation. We've
Yeah.
gone from, like, what even is data to how do you know if it's good data
Right.
to, like, here's how the pros do it.
Totally. We, like, have our little toolkit now. We've got our checklist. We know how to spot the greenwashing, and we've got our blueprints.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about avoiding the bad investments.
Right.
It's about finding the companies that are doing the right thing.
Yes.
The ones that'll be successful, hopefully.
Real, yes.
So, sustainable investing, it's not just about feeling good. It can actually be a really good financial decision.
Totally. Yeah, you can put your money where your values are.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. As we're wrapping up, any, like, final thoughts, key takeaways?
I think we covered them, like, remember to check your data, use the checklist, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Love it. And, listener, happy investing.
Yes. Good luck.
May your data always be fresh and ethically sourced.
And insightful.